presentation for this evening. We'll be talking about diabetes. So I'm going to be um, navigating here. I'm going to be showing you on my screen, and then I'll be talking right here from my phone. So we have two different devices going on here. So this evening, I think I just need to be made a co-host or something. I'll be able to share my screen, and then I'll be able to go throughout this presentation here. Okay, host disabled participant screen sharing. It's still showing me that, so let me see. I think I'm on two devices there. So my other device there, um, okay. All right. Let's try this now. Now we can do it. All right, great. Okay, so we're gonna be going through this presentation, as I said here before. We'll be talking about um, diabetes this evening, and we have a lot to share on diabetes. And what I'm gonna do here, I'm just going to share my screen here, and then open this PowerPoint presentation. Let me see where I have this. All right, great. Let me know if you see my screen here. It should be up on the screen now.
Yes.
So beat diabetes naturally. That's what we will be talking about this evening, how you can overcome and beat diabetes naturally. I believe this one here is shared to the public, other people can join. So you can feel free to share this if you want someone that needs to know information about diabetes. Then we'll be getting into some topics here, information about diabetes. So before we get into this presentation, as always, we want to start off with a word of prayer. Let's pray to Heavenly Father, Lord. I pray that you may forgive us for our sins, cleanse us from all unrighteousness, take away anything that is in us that is not of you. I pray that as we have opened up the Sabbath, I pray that you may pour out a special blessing on us this evening. As we learn about how to take better care of our bodies, help us not just hear those things and we don't practice them, but help us to hear those things and apply to our lives so that we can reap the reward of health. So continue to be each member who's each participant who's listening right now, that you may bless them through this time. It's my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So now, beat diabetes naturally. We have a disclaimer here, as always. Now, what is diabetes is the question that we want to ask ourselves for those who are not familiar with diabetes. And we see this here that diabetes, we have two types of diabetes. We have type 1, insulin dependent diabetes, and type 2, non insulin dependent. Back in the day, insulin dependent this diabetes will be called juvenile diabetes because this would happen more in the younger age, and then type 2 diabetes will be called adult onset diabetes. And the reason why is because mainly adults got that type of diabetes, but nowadays everyone is getting diabetes, and we have a type 2 and type 1, which is not just age specific. So we see this there that individuals, um, when we look at the types of diabetes, we have type 1, type 2. There are other types of diabetes, but we're not going to get into that right now. I'm not going to go into full details about this, but in the two main types of diabetes we'll be covering this evening. So then when we look at some symptoms of diabetes, we see that we have an increased thirst, frequent urination, unexplained weight loss, fatigue, and blurred vision when it comes to diabetes there. And also the afflictions of diabetes. We see that the life expectancy is shortened by 5 to 10 years. And you have 2 to 12 times the risk of heart attack. And that's why a lot of people feel like, or sometimes a doctor tell them that they have to manage this disease for the rest of their life. Manage, listen to the word there, manage. Meaning that some of them don't believe that you can actually overcome diabetes in your lifetime. Once you get diabetes, that this is it. And you have to be on this metformin or this various different medications for the rest of your life. And we know this here by just having diabetes. These are the complications. You can shorten your life 5 to 10 years. You can have 2 to 12 times the risk of heart attack, and also 2 to 4 times the risk of stroke. Actually, we had a brother came to our lifestyle center. We have a lifestyle center upstate New York, Eden Lifestyle. And this brother came to our lifestyle center and he was giving us a story. The first time he came, he went to the hospital and because he had a stroke, because his sugar levels were so high that he had a stroke, right? Experienced the afflictions here of diabetes. And so then he learned about us. Um, so then, as he learned about us here, he wanted to come to our place so he can reverse his diabetes. He came to our place, diabetes came under control. He went back home, and guess what happens with a lot of us? We go back to our old lifestyle again. So he started eating all the stuff and started doing all the things in his previous lifestyle. And then he came to us one day, I think it was a year or 2 years later, and he came back to us because he knew that this was a place of help for him. So when he arrived, we checked his sugar levels, and his sugar levels with the glucometer that we had, it couldn't have been read. It says error. Sugar levels are too high to be read in this machine. And the machine can go upwards to like 750 in the glucometer. It has the sugar levels. So his sugar levels were way off the charts, over 750. That's grounds there where you can experience a stroke at any time or a heart attack. So this is very important that we get this diabetes not just under control, but we can reverse this thing. This is something that you can actually reverse. And at our Lysa Center, one of the most common diseases that people come here with is diabetes. So top, we have diabetes and high blood pressure, obesity as well, but these are the top diseases. And we help so many people with diabetes. And we have people reverse diabetes in most of the time in under 1 week. So then this is something that's just to give you hope that yes, you can overcome this. This is not something that you have to live it for the rest of your life. Just so we can get that out of the way and we can develop that hope and trust in God that He can actually accomplish this in our life. Also, diabetes is the number one cause of blindness in adults. I'm sure many of you have heard of the glaucoma and all those different things that happens because of diabetes. And not only that, but the issues with our kidneys and so many issues that people have with experience with diabetes. And we're going to be looking at some more afflictions. Hopefully, none of you are weak stomachs in here today, but we're looking at some pictures and what you can do in different situations. Hopefully, by we want to end by 9 o'clock, so we want to keep time. So I want to make sure that I give you all the information within that time. So the road to type 2 diabetes, we have the A1C test. This is a more comprehensive test. It shows the sugar levels for a 3-month period and it's by percentage. Below 5.7%, we have a normal glucose level. And if you're between 5.7 to 6.4%, then you're in pre-diabetic realm, and over 6.5% of your A1C, that is diabetes. And then also when you look at the glucometer and we check our sugar levels, the fasting glucose, probably the more accurate reading, that's when you fast for at least 8 hours. So then if you eat and you sleep throughout the night and you wake up in the morning and before you eat anything, you check your sugar levels. This is what your sugar levels should be. It should be under 100. So 99 or below, that is considered normal sugar levels. And between 100 and 125, that is pre-diabetes, and above 125, once you start getting 126 and above, then that is diabetes. So these are the different ways you can measure your sugar levels and to see whether or not you have diabetes. And sometimes people walk around without knowing that they have diabetes. You can go to any of your big box stores or pharmacies and get a glucometer and you can check your sugar levels. You can check on those things. No reason why you shouldn't have a blood pressure cuff at home or having a glucometer or something at home. So you can just check your numbers every now and then, frequently, to see where you stand with some of those vitals. So you want to check your vitals at least every few months or once a year or something, just to make sure that you're okay and you're in good standing. Okay, so now let us talk about here causes of high sugar levels. What would cause you to have high sugar levels or develop diabetes? Type 2 diabetes is a more common form of diabetes. So we're going to be looking at type 2 diabetes in more at length, but then also the things that apply to type 2 diabetes can be applied to type 1 diabetes as well. The difference is in type 1 diabetes, the pancreas is damaged and the pancreas, the islet cells in the pancreas cannot secrete as much insulin. Insulin is what goes in and bring down your sugar levels. And we'll see this here as we look at some of the illustrations there. So let's get the causes of sugar levels, the causes of high sugar levels. And when we look at this there, we see that glucose is the fuel for your body. And I believe Sean was talking about this there, your ATP and all this energy that takes place in your body, the production of energy. And we know that glucose is a fuel for your body. It helps in producing that energy. So then that's why you want to include glucose in your diets. You don't want to go on this like this ketogenic diets and so forth where there is no carbohydrates whatsoever. Carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates is actually healthy and good for us. But obviously, you just want to stay away from some of the simple carbohydrates, and that's the difference there. We're going to be looking at some of these things there as we go through diabetes and what is advised for us to eat, just so that we don't get diabetes, and if we have diabetes, how to reverse that. So, glucose number one is the fuel for your body. And then when we look at this a little closer here, let us look at the illustration here as in glucose. Let us say insulin is like the key that opens up a door, right? But then if that key, that insulin, that key which is insulin, if you don't have a key, then you can't open that door. And let us say glucose tries to go into the house. The glucose is somebody that tries to go into the house. You need the insulin to open up the door so that way the glucose can go into the house. But if there's no key, there's no insulin, the glucose cannot get into the cells. It cannot provide energy for your body. So then insulin is very important as well as glucose. So then these are some of the factors there when it comes to diabetes. We're going to be looking at this a little closer here. But then we see here that if there's no key that opens up your cells, there's no glucose that can go into the cell. So insulin is the key that opens up the cell so the glucose can go in and provide the energy for your body. If you don't have the key, if you don't have insulin, then that sugar would remain in your bloodstream and start to hang around in your bloodstream, causing what we call high blood sugar. So the sugar in your blood becomes elevated because the sugar cannot be displaced or go into the cells and be used up. Okay? So now this is where diabetes comes into play. This is where your sugar levels becomes elevated. Okay? So then the question now is what may hinder glucose from going into the cells? And that is the question that we want to ask here. And there are two different main reasons why glucose may not enter into the cells or your sugar levels may elevate in your bloodstream. And we'll be looking at those two as well. One is your pancreas does not secrete as much insulin as it should. Remember, insulin is the key that opens up your cell. So then one of the reasons why is because, let us say, your pancreas has cells on them that produce insulin. And if those cells are damaged or if your pancreas doesn't function as fully and it doesn't produce enough insulin, then there is more glucose that will hang out within your bloodstream. So pancreatic failure could be a cause of diabetes. And the question now is what may cause your pancreas to fail is the question that we want to ask ourselves. And there are different reasons, different things that may inhibit your insulin production or interfere with your insulin production. One of them is caffeine. Caffeine impairs insulin action. And we see this here that it inhibits the way that glucose or insulin is produced from your pancreas. And another one is sugar. Sugar places a burden on your pancreas and therefore can cause your pancreas to become fatigued over time. Now I'm stressed on over time. Short term, consuming sugar doesn't have as bad of an effect on your pancreas than if you consume high sugar for a long period of time, then that deteriorates your pancreas over time. So let's use an example here. Let us say you consume a high amount of sugar. Now, for example, fruits have sugar in there called fructose, right? That sugar is paired with something called fiber. And we know here that fiber regulates how much sugar goes into your bloodstream. Fiber slows down the rate of absorption. So your body has to break down the fiber and break down the fructose and then absorb that. So that happens slowly as the food breaks down into your stomach. That can take, let's say, about 4 or 5 hours to leave your stomach, go into your small intestine, and then absorption takes place. And slowly things are going into your small intestine, slowly, slowly. And throughout the day, your sugar levels rises throughout the day very slowly and comes down slowly, slowly, slowly. And then lunchtime happens and it rises again, slowly, slowly, slowly. So all this is a slow process. Your body can handle this there. Your body say, hey, you consume this complex carbohydrate throughout the day. It's breaking down the glucose from these carbohydrates, and I need to produce insulin so your body can use that glucose. Now, when you take something like sugar, basically, sugar is, the cane juice, and they boil it down, they crystallize it. So now the sugar becomes just glucose only, and it doesn't have no nutrients, it doesn't have no fiber, no minerals, no B vitamins, none of those things. It's just like an empty caloric food, just glucose essentially. So now, because it's not paired with that fiber, it's not paired with all its other nutrients and vitamins, that sugar goes into your bloodstream very quickly and it spikes up your blood rapidly because there's no fiber to regulate how quickly it goes into your bloodstream. So your pancreas responds by secreting a flood of insulin into your system to bring down the sugar levels. And the body does that no problem. If it's the first time that's happened, no problem. We got it under control. Like all these kids that drinking all this soda, 4 or 5 cans of soda a day, boom, the pancreas just increase the amount of insulin and it's working overtime to bring down that sugar level. And it can do that with no problem when you're young. The issue is if you keep doing that for year after year after year, consuming all that sugar, that crystallized sugar, especially when it's a crystallized form. I don't know if any of you have ever done science experiments where you've made sugar before. I did this in my science class when I was in high school, and the process of making that sugar, it strips it of all the fiber, everything, and it's just that glucose only. And that is what's really harmful to our pancreas and deteriorates our pancreas over time. And that's why, personally, we don't consume those refined sugars. And in that same category as refined sugar, we have also the simple carbohydrates like white rice, which is stripped of the fiber. It is stripped of certain minerals and vitamins and so forth, and that food becomes much more denatured. And also, it's what we call simple. And the reason why we call it simple is because it doesn't have the complexity of breaking it down. It breaks down much quicker, and your body can assimilate it much quicker, therefore raising your blood sugar levels at a spike much quicker. So the same thing, what somebody says, the quicker you get rich, the quicker you get poor, right? Just like people who win the lottery, they win $10 million, and in 5 years they broke because they didn't work for that money over time. They didn't gradually gain that money and understand how to maintain their riches. And that's the thing about this get rich quick schemes and all these various things there. People go bankrupt. Even when they look at athletes, I think there's a number like 70% of athletes who are wealthy when they're playing for the team or when they're working. As soon as they retire, in about I think they say in about 10 years or whatever, 70% of them file for bankruptcy. And it's just that you want to be able to do these things slowly. You want to gain your money slowly. Take your time with what God wants for you in your life. Don't just rush things. And the same thing with food. We have all these quick foods. It digests quickly, and therefore, when it goes up quick, it comes back down quick. So then we want to maintain. So especially when you have this fiber-rich foods, and it slowly disperses the glucose throughout the day, then you have energy throughout the day rather than having a spike and you feel energetic, you feel like you're bouncing off the walls, and all of a sudden you have a down, and then you need some more caffeine or you need some more sugar and you need some more of those drugs because it's went up and it dropped down and you feel down and sluggish and tired afterwards. So when you have those complex carbohydrates, then you maintain that sugar in your bloodstream, or it disperses into your bloodstream slowly throughout the day, and you have a more consistent energy release, and you feel more energetic throughout the day rather than in spurts. Okay, so now that's just for sugar now, and sugar can damage your pancreas. If you eat too much sugar at one time, your pancreas will put out the extra insulin without too much trouble. However, if you eat too much sugar frequently, the long-term wear on your pancreas may cause it to age more rapidly than the rest of your body. This can ultimately result in pancreatic failure, which is a fancy way of saying diabetes. So high glycemic index foods. So that's what we're going to be talking about here. Low glycemic index means that your body takes a longer time to digest those foods, and it doesn't release into your bloodstream as quickly. So it's low glycemic index, but the high glycemic index foods, it releases into your bloodstream quicker. So eating many high glycemic index foods, which causes powerful spikes in your blood sugar, can lead to an increased risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and overweight. So then this is one way that you can get this here. And also the same, we talked about sugar, but we're also talking about refined grains too. There's a saying that goes like this: the whiter the bread, the sooner you're dead. I don't know if you ever heard that one before. So then we want to make sure that we get our stuff in a whole form. That's why, sometimes people say, oh, I'm in a plant-based diet, I'm a vegan diet or whatever. And I like to tend to the word whole food plant-based. And that is, I guess, a better description of what we try to teach and what we want people to get on this whole food plant-based diet where you're not consuming those ultra refined foods. And those refined foods, not even talking about just the lack of fiber in there or the lack of nutrients, but those things can cause inflammation in our body. And we notice as it causes oxidative stress, those free radicals causes oxidative stress and damages our body, our arterial walls, and so many things that it causes damage inside our body, but also is damaging our pancreas because it has to work at a short space of time, and that puts strain on your pancreas over time, developing diabetes. But this is more long term. In a shorter term, this is how you can get diabetes much quicker. Fats. Fats causes what we call insulin resistance. And if you know the insulin goes through in the bloodstream, and it goes through all the body, throughout the body, and it provides glucose to all the cells, different cells in your body. That's how your cells are fed. That's how your cells move, because the glucose goes throughout the body. It's just an awesome machinery that the body, that God has created. And we see this there, that when we have insulin resistance, that the insulin, there's resistance of it going into the cells. And what can cause that is a fat buildup, especially in your artery walls, where it's like, hey, I'm trying to get through this air, but there's a fat buildup that is resisting the insulin from going through. Just like, let's say, if you have a key, you have the insulin, your pancreas is creating enough insulin, you have the key, but there is some gum inside the hole of the door, and you're trying to push the key inside, but you just can't seem to go inside, and the glucose is trying to come in, but it's just hanging around in your bloodstream because there's insulin resistance. And fat can cause that insulin resistance. So you can think about our cells as being coated. You see the yellow there on the cells? Let us say this is just fat deposits coating the entrance to our cells, and then the insulin cannot get into that cell. So high cholesterol foods, those high fat, high cholesterol foods can cause insulin resistance, can cause plaque buildup in your arteries. And the highest cholesterol food includes eggs. Eggs is one of the highest in cholesterol in terms of foods that we can eat. Also, we have liver and fish. People don't notice that fish has cholesterol in it, because a lot of people say, oh, I give up all meat, just fish only. I haven't given up yet. And then you suffering with high cholesterol. The most logical thing to do if you have high cholesterol is to give up all animal foods, because you know why? Cholesterol is only in animals. There's no cholesterol in plants. Our body actually produces all the cholesterol that we need. So then you want to stay away from, especially if you have high cholesterol, stay away from those cholesterol foods that adds cholesterol to your diet. And these are some of the highest right here that we're talking about. Fast foods, butter, shellfish, shrimp, bacon, sausages, red meat, cheese, and also pastries as well, especially that have dairy and stuff in it. So then what happens when glucose cannot enter into the cells? The glucose stays in the blood, and as we said before, that causes high sugar levels. And then what do we do when we get that high sugar levels? Instead of changing our diet, instead of changing the things that we eat, instead of giving up those fatty foods, instead of giving up that refined sugars and all these various things here, we take our medication, right? And the side effects of insulin, guess what? It's the same as also the side effects of diabetes. So the side effects of insulin may cause obesity. Those who have obesity have an increased risk of diabetes. both fat inside the body and fat on the body. It shows there that every like 10 pounds you lose, you can decrease your risk of diabetes by a certain percentage. I can't remember if it's like 5% or so forth, but it's like, and obesity can lead to diabetes, but your side effects of the medication can cause obesity, increasing the risk of diabetes, making it worse. Also increases the damage to blood vessel walls. We just talked about this, sir. The cholesterol buildup, the plaque in your arteries, your cholesterol patches the damage to your vessels and can cause plaque buildup in your arteries. But that's a side effect of the insulin medication. Also increases the risk of heart attacks. What? That's like a side effect of diabetes. So it seems like the same side effects of diabetes is the same side effects that the medication is giving me. So if I don't die from diabetes, I'll die from what? Medications eventually? Well, this is a lot of issues happen to people over a period of years, and people get on dialysis. People have to cut off their limbs, and all kinds of stuff happens because of this living this diabetes to a point where you're like, I want to eat what I want to eat. I'm just going to take this insulin. I'm going to take this metformin, and I think I'm going to be okay. But this is decreasing my lifespan by 5 to 10 years. That's a lot of years. Just imagine instead of living to like 77, 78, you live to 68, 67. It's like you just decrease your years there. So side effects of the diabetic pill. There's a special warning in the physician's desk reference. Special warning on increased risk of cardiovascular mortality. Can you imagine that? Diabetes can increase your risk of heart disease and stroke. The medication can also increase the risk of cardiovascular mortality. Isn't that crazy? So now the question is, what is the answer to diabetes? What can we do? It seems like the medication is helping us to bring down our glucose levels, but the side effects leads to the same thing that diabetes can kill us from. So what is the answer is what we're going to ask. So we're going to be looking at today God's plan for diabetes. And we like to use the acronym. We use God's plan. Some of you know New Start, and there's so many different acronyms right now, but it's basically the laws of health, godly trust, open air, daily exercise, sunlight, proper rest, lots of water, always temperate, and nutrition. And so let's look at nutrition for diabetes. So this is what you do. If you have diabetes, this is what I would do. Okay? The first thing that you need to do, or that I would do if I have diabetes, is avoid animal fats in all forms. So that includes, dairy, or whether it be red meats, white meat, fish, or whatever. I exclude all animal fats from my diet. I would eliminate cholesterol foods from my diet, animal foods. And also I would remove refined sugars from my diet as well. So then that would include white rice, white bread, the white of the bread, the sooner you're dead, KFC, killing faithful Christians. So eliminate those things from your diet. And you say, you know what? I want to make some changes. I want to include some dietary fiber into my diet, consuming more salads into my diet, so dark green leafy vegetables, some brown rice instead of white rice, some quinoa, some millet, some bulgur wheat, or whatever the case may be, whatever you want to include in your diet that is more in a whole grain form, you include that as well. Instead of white bread, you do some whole wheat bread or some spelt bread or whatever the case may be. You want to substitute this there for a more whole grain diet. Your body would process that, take a little more time to process that, thereby not putting a burden in your pancreas to bring your sugar levels down so quickly. There's not creating a flood of glucose in your system all at once. So let's go into this here. We're going to be looking at here some supplements for diabetes. And as we look at some supplements here for diabetes, you can feel free to take notes or whatever that you need to do here. We're going to be looking at some supplements there for diabetes. Now, the first one that we're going to be looking at here is vitamin C. And the reason why we want to include vitamin C from the diet. And before we get into this here, let me talk about the diet a little more here. So then when we look at whole foods, studies show that dietary fiber supplements do not offer the same benefits as a diet based on plant-based whole foods. So when you include those whole foods into your diet, you want to make sure that you eat those the stacked green leafy vegetables as whole grain, instead of just trying to take a fiber supplement, some let's take fiber like a tablespoon or whatever. The studies have shown it's more effective by including it in your diet. Also, some studies show on fat here. The leanest beef contains 29% fat, chicken has 23% fat, while beans only has about 4% fat. And a comprehensive 2010 review of multiple studies revealed that consuming just one 50-gram serving of processed meats daily, such as bacon, sausages, or deli meats, increased the risk of developing diabetes by 51%. Also, additional research published by the American Diabetes Association indicates that individuals with high intake of animal protein, which is often high in saturated fats, have a 22% higher likelihood of developing diabetes. And those with type 1 diabetes, fatty foods tend to elevate the blood sugar levels, as per another study published in the American Diabetes Association. Also, research led by James Anderson, a professor of medicine at the University of Kentucky, has determined a significant correlation between fat consumption, both dietary fat and body fat, and the onset of diabetes. Diabetes is infrequent in regions where fat intake is minimal and obesity is uncommon. So we see this here. It's very important. And we just want to be able to get on this diet. Full plant-based diet is best for reversing high blood sugar. Low saturated fat diet improves insulin function. Eating a low saturated fat, high fiber diet helps insulin sensitivity. And that's according to a study published in Diabetes Care. And that's very important here as well. And when we look at, like, let's say, refined sugars, a 12-ounce can of sugary drink or juice usually contains around 10 to 12 teaspoons of sugar and 150 or more calories. There is a compelling evidence that show that these sugary drinks significantly contribute to rapid rise of diabetes. Women who consume one or more servings of sugary drinks daily have nearly twice the risk of developing diabetes compared to those who rarely consume them. So then fat and this refined sugars and all the various things there can increase our risk of diabetes. So now let's look at some of the supplements there. As we talked about whole food plant-based diet, some of you are on the original lifestyle challenge and you have been eating more whole food plant-based diets and switching up the things that you're eating, and you're challenging yourself for 40 days and you're like, I want to eat this way, I want to exercise, I want to do this. So you're already on the path to wellness. And we want to talk about some supplements that you can take to help with diabetes as well. So vitamin C, since vitamin C has beneficial effects upon blood glucose, blood sugar levels, it could be wise for a diabetic to take large portions of even from the diet, from raw fruits and vegetables that are high in vitamin C. So you can try to do this there, and that's even recommended. The metabolic effects of vitamin C administration, that also is covered in the Journal of American College of Nutrition, where they looked about how vitamin C can impact blood glucose levels, bringing it down. So increase vitamin C into your diet. Also, this is this supplement called berberine, and research shows that this compound helps lower blood sugar levels by helping your body break down glucose more efficiently, allowing tissues to use sugar better, and increases the production of insulin. So a recommendation for berberine would be about 1,200 milligrams daily. Also, alpha lipoic acid, ALA, that's, when we talk about omega-3s, that's one of those fatty acids. We have DHA, you have ALA. So what we want to look at here is ALA. It has been used for decades in Europe to counter nerve damage in people with diabetes type 1 and type 2. So a lot of people get nerve damage, neuropathy, and stuff like that. So then alpha lipoic acid can help with that. And diabetic neuropathy is often very painful, and it tends to develop in people who have uncontrolled diabetes for a long time. And the neuropathy may be caused in part by free radical damage to nerves resulting from poor regulated blood sugar glucose. As an antioxidant, alpha lipoic acid helps to block such damage. In addition, it's because of its effect on glucose metabolism. ALA may improve the glucose lowering action of insulin, the hormone that helps to regulate blood sugar. So a recommendation for alpha lipoic acid is 600 milligrams 2 times daily. 1,600 milligrams 2 times daily. Another one that you can include in your diet is lecithin granules. And then lecithin granules by Baylor College of Medicine researchers have discovered that a natural substance called DLPC can improve insulin sensitivity and reduce fatty liver in mice. And they believe is this finding could potentially offer treatment for people at risk of developing diabetes. And DLPC is an uncommon type of phospholipid. It is found in small amounts in dietary supplement lecithin. So that's why lecithin is pretty good for those who are on have diabetes, also high blood pressure as well. It works great for that. It's great. It's a fatty emulsifier, so it helps to reduce the amount of fat in your arteries. And 1 tablespoon of lecithin granules daily is good. You can just take a tablespoon and just pour it over your food, in your salad, in your smoothie, or in your food, or wherever you want to pour that lecithin granules from. Also, we have magnesium. Magnesium have been found to positively impact blood sugar levels. Diets high in magnesium are linked to notably lower risk of diabetes. And the recommendation for magnesium is 800 milligrams 2 times daily. 800 milligrams 2 times daily. What we want to look at now, whilst we still have time, we want to look at some herbs for diabetes as well. We also have bilberry and blueberry. And so bilberry and blueberry leaves are useful in controlling blood sugar because of the phytochemical in there, which increase circulation and prevent complications. Also, bilberry has been helpful for blood sugar and to protect nerves, veins, eyes from degeneration in diabetes. So if you all the complications like glaucoma and having neuropathy and all the different issues, complications that come with diabetes, bilberry and also blueberry leaves can protect you against that. Also, we have fenugreek seeds. Fenugreek seed contain a phytochemical which has the property of reducing blood sugar. The seeds of fenugreek have been used traditionally because of its anti-diabetic properties, and also recently these properties were investigated in diabetic animals and found indeed to be effective. In another study, fenugreek seed powder was fed to 60 adult onset diabetics who showed a significant improvement in glucosylate hemoglobin after 8 weeks. So it helped their sugar levels to bring it down after using the fenugreek seed for 8 weeks. Now, a lot of things you can get in supplement form. You can get your bilberry, your fenugreek, and all this different stuff in grounded up like a powder in supplement form, and you can purchase those to take as a supplement. We also have Gymnema sylvestre. That one here is pretty good, especially for type 1 and type 2 diabetes. And type 1, the reason why it can actually help to regenerate your insulin producing cells in the pancreas. So remember, the insulin generating cells in your pancreas can get damaged and your pancreas don't secrete as much insulin as it should. That can help to regenerate those cells, so you can regrow those cells, especially type 1 diabetes. So it may take some time, but you can take that here to help regenerate and rebuild. So that's one and another herb as well. Also, we have cedar juniper berries. Cedar berries or juniper berries, they have been historically utilized in traditional medicine to address diabetes, and also a study involving diabetic rats. Supplementation with juniper berry extract notably lower blood sugar levels while increasing heart protective HDL cholesterol. And also another study for the Chinese juniper berry extract observed a significant reduction in blood sugar, cholesterol, and triglyceride levels in diabetic rats as well. Also, we have uvarusi. It's also known as bearberry. It contains a group of compounds that helps to lower blood sugar levels as well. So they can help to increase urine production. So a lot of times people with diabetes, you may urinate frequently, but also some people may have urine retention and all the different stuff, or they may have glucose that is stagnant in your bloodstream, and you need to help in urinating it out to get rid of some of the excess fluid, and uvarusi can help with that as well. We also have ginkgo biloba that can enhance blood circulation, which can positively affect your blood vessels and which can help in preventing complications from diabetes, help to lower your sugar levels as well. Now, for those who are in the Caribbean, you'll probably love this one here. We have some mango leaves. Mango leaves can actually help with diabetes. And there's an extract from mango leaves which holds promising benefits for individuals trying to manage diabetes. It aids in improving insulin production and the proper distribution of glucose, and it can help to stabilize your blood sugar levels. So just incorporating some mango leaves into, like, let's say you can get it in supplement form. You can actually take the leaves if you're in the Caribbean, and you can dry it out and grind it into a powder, or just take the leaves and crush it up and make a tea out of it. And that can help with your sugar levels. A great way to help your sugar levels as well. So now I want to share some remedies you can do before we can open up for questions and answer. And there's 4 steps in fighting top killer disease. And then, step number 1, the cause should be ascertained. So when I say the cause ascertained, that means you need to find out the cause. What is causing me to have diabetes? Is it because my lack of exercise? Is it, and that can lead to obesity. And a lot of times, people don't know that they're overweight. I've met so many, especially Caribbean people. And if some of them feel like the heavier you are, the healthier you are. And that's not always the case. And some of us are overweight and we don't even know it. So I would say you check your height, you check your weight, and you can look at your BMI and see if you're in the normal range for your BMI. Do you know that 2 in every 3 Americans, they're either overweight or obese? That means every 3 people that you see on the street, 2 of them would be either overweight or obese. That's a staggering number. That's a very high percentage of overweight and obesity in this country. So then you need to ask yourself the question, am I exercising? Am I eating a nutritious diet? Not only nutritious, am I staying away from those foods that may elevate my sugar levels, which can cause insulin resistance, high fatty foods? Like, am I eating too much, Wendy's and Popeyes and all those different places that we eat at, Five Guys, there's chicken and the fries and all this deep fried oil and all those things that may cause insulin resistance in our body. Am I consuming a high fat, high saturated fat diet? And this has been highlighted in the new administration, where now plant oils is getting a bad rap, but now they're promoting beef tallow and all these different foods, going back to those animal-based butters and stuff like that. But it's not healthy for us either. I agree that certain plant oils are not healthy because of the process that they go through to break down these oils. It may cause free radical damage in our arteries and so forth, like those hydrogenated oils. But in any case, you want to make sure that you eliminate those things from your diet. So go back and find out the cause. What is causing me to have high cholesterol? What is causing me to have diabetes? And then you need to make some changes. Then it says there, unhealthy conditions should be changed. Unhealthy conditions should be changed. And then we see here, what are some unhealthy conditions we have to look within ourselves? What are some unhealthy conditions? Let's say your stressful environment, your work is stressing you out, right? So then you need to think to yourself, okay, do I need to get a new job? There's one time I had bad gastritis and I worked at this job. It was very stressful. And then I tell myself, man, I need to leave this place because it is causing me to be sick. I know it already. I know this is what is causing me to be sick. Gastritis, strong pulling pain in my stomach, strong. So then one day, I got a better opportunity. I left that job, and within 1 week time, gastritis was gone. So for some of you, it could be your job is making you sick. And what you need to do is to pray to God. Like I prayed, I'm like, God, please take me out of this situation. And God opened up a door for me to work with a ministry back in Florida. So the question now is, you need to pray. If it's a job, you need to pray. Unhealthy conditions. If you're in a smoke-filled environment, people are smoking around you, you need to take yourself away from that environment. If you're in a stressful environment, you need to take yourself away from that stressful environment. If you're not married and you have a boyfriend and he's giving you stress, then you need to, okay. I think we know what to do. And the thing is, we want to make sure that we prioritize our health. And we need to say, let me make those changes that will foster health in my body. And then step number 3, we need to correct wrong habits. Wrong habits should be corrected. So then if you're not exercising, guess what you need to do? Exercise. If you're not drinking enough water, guess what you need to do? Drink more water. Like we talk about the original lifestyle challenge, we're challenging ourselves to leave the original lifestyle that God has set up for us, outlined for us in the Garden of Eden. How wonderful it is that God has given us the steps to be healthy. what he created us to be, especially in the Garden of Eden, is perfection. And we've gone so far away from that. We need to say, how can I go back, right, to that original plan that God has for me in my life? So when you have done the steps there, then we do step number 4. And step number 4, then nature is to be assisted in our efforts to expel impurities and to reestablish right conditions in the system. So once we have done step number 1, find out the cause. What is causing my problem? Then you correct you change your environment around you, right? And then you correct wrong habits. When you've done this, then you do this last step here. And this is what we do. Then nature is to be assisted in her efforts to expel impurities and reestablish right conditions in the system. So now what we want to look at is what are some natural remedies that we can do to help with diabetes and also different diabetic complications. We have about 12 minutes left. I'm going to try to wrap this up and hopefully open up for questions. But then what are some natural things that we can do? I'm just going to keep this very brief. Natural remedies for diabetes, to beat diabetes. So let's say someone has this issue right here with their feet. A lot of diabetics have issues like that. So we have neuropathy, we have basically water loss and nerve damage in the limbs, and it becomes to a point where it becomes very numb, and there's no feeling there as well. There's wounds that can be, if you get, if you get a sore, it wouldn't heal, and also you can have gangrene if you have. Okay, just to let you know, if you can take these pictures, you can close your eyes a little bit. It might get a little graphics for some, just to give you a little warning. Okay, so like gangrene hair and all these different issues, right? So then what we're gonna do here, just so I'm not in this picture here. So some of the things that you can do here. So if you have a wound that wouldn't heal, then you can make this mixture here. You can take Manuka honey and you can mix it up with sugar. That's the only time I'll make you use that white crack, right? The white sugar. You can take some white sugar, as white as they can come, and mix that with some Manuka honey, 1 part to 1 part, and you mix it up, make a paste, and you put that over the wound. And we can see here that Manuka honey is known for its antibacterial and healing properties and can be mixed with white sugar to create a beneficial poultice for diabetics. White sugar, plain white sugar, can be applied directly to the diabetic wound to oxidize and debride dead necrotic tissue. And a lot of times we do this sometimes manually, get rid of the necrotic tissue to make the wound heal quicker. White sugar does that, naturally, get rid of the dead necrotic tissue. So Manuka honey is very healing as well. If you cannot afford Manuka honey, you can do the regular honey. It's fine. Manuka honey just has more healing properties in there. So then you can make that mixture, put that over the wound, and then you clean the wound off, daily. You can take like saline water, some salt water, and you just wash it. You can pour the saline water over the wound, and you can take like a cotton pad or something and just dab it just to get it clean, and then you can apply that honey sugar mixture, and that's going to help to accelerate the healing time of that wound. A lot of times we have people